Gamondi.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to speak both on the report as well as the finance bill. Mr. Speaker, from my experience, there are three things that normally can tell you the trajectory a country is taking, one of which is the level of savings. The other is the number of patents you can find in that country, and the third one is the money that is allocated to education. And I'm very conscious of the fact that the estimates have been published, and with that in mind, I'm now ready to make my comments on the finance bill. I've noted in the estimates that there's an increment in CDF allocation, probably of 18 to 22 million per constituency. In my case, in Suba South, where we give each student 10,000 shillings, that would mean additional resources for 1,800 students. I've also noted that there's an increase in allocation for the educational sector. I've also noted that there's a reduction on rental income from 10% to tax on rental income from 10% to 7.5%. But most importantly, I've also noted that there's a reduction of budget deficit by about 400 billion, meaning there's generally a reduction on the debt appetite. Mr. Speaker, on the issue of housing levy, let me put it on record that this is one of those areas where the public collective is more important than the individual collective. There are many, many areas where generally the public have to pull together to realize what is called the public good, such as in insurance, medical insurance, and housing schemes. The housing scheme is a very good idea that I would like to support, and I'd like to put it on record that it has been part of our agenda as ODM for a very long time, from 2007. I would like to make it clear that there may be arguments, there may be disagreements on this issue, but for the general public good, the housing levy is a good idea. What I would suggest, there should be a guaranteed minimum return on those who invest in this scheme, which should be benchmarked by the treasury bill, rate for treasury bills, so as to protect the investments against inflation. I would also like to suggest that we should have very robust ring fencing against corruption associated with this project. And finally, I would also like to suggest that we remove the tax on the income received from investments made by the public on housing levy. Mr. Speaker, on the charge on tax on non-residents, I would like to recommend very heavily, because I was not in the committee, that we avoid situations of double taxation or double jeopardy for non-resident Kenyans. And we should respect international obligations that we have under double taxation treaties. An issue that I was going to object to very strongly, but which has been addressed, was the 20% deposit on tax assessment when you appeal against KRA decisions. Mr. Speaker, as a lawyer, you would know those provisions that were proposed were tantamount to overturning the well-known principle of onus of proof on its head. But that has now been overtaken by events, and I'm very happy that that particular issue has been addressed. Mr. Speaker, on the issue of VAT on fuel, I understand very clearly that this is a conditionality from the IMF. But it also demonstrates how we do our politics in Kenya. It is very interesting that those who last year voted for the introduction of the VAT 8% are this year completely opposed to it. And those who opposed it last year are this year completely supporting it. But let me add my voice and say our economy is still very fragile. We can hardly see the early green shoots of a recovery. I would have wished to see very strongly that the 8% is not introduced on fuel levy because of the adverse impact it will have on everybody. On 35% tax, I agree with that. Those who earn more should pay more. Finally, Mr. Speaker, let me put it on record that I think the House should be respected by the various political parties, and members should not be intimidated or arm-twisted on how they should conduct their business in this House. And they should be free to vote the way they wish with their conscience for the public interest. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.